Welcome to Section 3 of this course called Getting the Question Right. I'm your instructor, Robert Folker. In this section, we'll learn how to properly frame a question so we can provide a meaningful answer. Unfortunately, we often find that the initial question asked or problem statement was far off the mark due to several factors that we've discussed previously. How we define a problem determines how we analyze it and determines the solution. The goal of problem restatement is to broaden our perspective of a problem, help us to identify the major factors, encourage us to look for alternative solutions, and increase the chance that the outcome of our analysis produces will fully resolve the problem. This slide shows us what not to do when stating or restating the problem. If a problem lacks focus, then it is too vague and broad. If the problem statement has a misdirected focus, then it is too narrow. Remember that assumption-driven statements are by definition lacking proof. The purpose of intelligence is to reduce risk to an acceptable level. An assumption is risk. So when making assumptions, you have to ensure that the total risk doesn't exceed an acceptable level. If a statement is solution-driven, then it often takes the form of a leading question and applies the solution and advocates a fix. Don't fall into these traps. Here are some things we can do when restating the problem. First, paraphrase. Restate the problem using different words without losing the original meaning. For example, if the original statement is, "How can we limit congestion on the roads?" then you might put the question in your own words to say, "How can we keep road congestion from growing?" Trying to say the same thing with different words puts a slightly different spin on the meaning, which triggers new perspectives and informative insights. Secondly, 180 degrees. Turn the problem on its head. For example, if the original statement was, "How can we get employees to come to the company picnic?" then you might change it to say, "How can we discourage employees from attending the picnic?" Taking the opposite view of a problem is a surprisingly effective technique, for it not only challenges the problem's underlying premises, but directly identifies what is causing the problem. Third, broaden the focus. Restate the problem in a larger context. For example, if the original statement was, "Should I change jobs?" then you might change it to say, "How can I achieve job security?" Also note that the initial statement to the question posed in number 3 is a yes or no and immediately cuts off consideration of alternative options. Fourthly, redirect the focus. Boldly, consciously change the focus. For example, if the original statement was, "How can we boost sales?" then change it to something like, "How can we cut costs?" Of the 5 techniques in problem restatement, the approach in number 4 demands the most thought and creativity. It is therefore the most difficult, but can also be the most productive. In the 5th and final technique, we ask why. Here are some examples of the questions you could develop by asking why. Original question: how can we market our in-house multimedia products? Why? Because many of our internal customers are outsourcing their multimedia projects. How can we keep internal customers from outsourcing their multimedia projects? Why? Because it should be our mandate to do all the organization's multimedia. How can we establish a mandate to do all the organization's multimedia? Why? Because we need to broaden our customer base. How can we broaden our customer base? Why? Because we need a larger base to be cost-effective. How can we be more cost-effective? Why? Because our profit margin is diminishing. Final question: how can we increase our profit margin? As is evident from all these examples, restating a problem several different ways is a divergent technique that opens our mind to alternatives. Restating a problem invariably serves to open it up, revealing important perspectives and issues we might otherwise have overlooked. Let's try a problem restatement exercise. Does the question on the slide accurately address the problem? What is the problem? Take some time to rephrase the question. You may pause the video to give yourself more time to work the problem. How did this exercise affect your perception of the problem? How might you analyze it now? The information contained in the question above may be precisely what the owner of the problem believes he wants to know, but surely there's a simpler way to express it. A valuable tip when restating problems is to make them simple, positive, and in active voice. The mind works more easily and quickly with simple, positive, active voice sentences than with the complex, negative, passive voice sentences. We'll demonstrate with a few examples. Worrying about the phraseology of a problem statement may seem trivial, but I assure you that it isn't. As I said at the beginning of this section, how we define a problem determines how we analyze it. The wording of that definition is therefore crucial, and anything we can do to clarify and simplify it is significant. Humans take longer to process a negative thought than a positive one. Similarly, a statement in passive voice takes longer to process than one in active voice. We tend to view the world in terms of cause and effect. Now that we know how to get to the heart of a question and properly frame it so we can provide a meaningful answer, let's move on to the next section. But before we do, let's review. In this lesson, we discussed how to apply 5 techniques to help us properly frame a question or restate a problem to ensure we can provide a meaningful answer or a complete solution. I encourage you to invest the time and use these techniques at the beginning of your analytic process to save you time and energy later. A short quiz follows and will help you retain the key points in the lecture. Good luck with the quiz, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture on intelligence research.